Hi everyone, it's Suzy here, aka WoolWench, and today I'm going to share with you how I make a gradient bat, putting layers onto the cardar rather than stripes. But it will give you a multicolored bat, and I'm aiming for making a smooth bat, not using my 72 TPI but my 128 TPI cloth because I've got fine fibres. The 72 TPI is great for the medium fibres. You can make smooth bats on both these kinds of carding cloth, but today I've got some merino and some silks and some finer fibres, so I'm going to stick with my 128 TPI cloth. I've got my awesome Magic Fusion Engine drum carder, and I'm going to start off with some really pretty coloured fibre. This is stuff I've actually got little bits and pieces of. I've got some silk merino combed top, and I've got some white roving, and there's little bits of sparkle in there. I'm going to spread it out first and stick it onto the drum in layers instead of in stripes. So you'll see I'm going to build up one layer over the other, basically putting in one colour and then putting on the second colour on top of that. So you need to just spread out your fibres a little bit. You want it to cover the drum as evenly as possible. So I tend to just take my little commercial top pieces and just spread it out so it goes about approximately the width of the drum. You'll see when you've got enough on there before you start the next layer of colour, because it will just cover the cloth so you won't see it through the fibre. So it gives you a nice thick layer. This drum card is pretty special because it's got an 8:1 ratio, which means that this large drum is passing the small liquor in drum 8 times for every one rotation of the small drum. So it means that it opens out the fibres through these tines on the liquor in really quickly and really efficiently, spreading it out onto the main drum as well. So it's a very efficient machine, and I can put the whole width of my roving on in one go without it jamming up or making lumps. It spreads it quite evenly across the large drum. Sometimes you'll see the fibre sticking onto the liquor in. That's often because you might have held the fibre back as it goes on to the drum, but these are also very fine fibres, so they may tend to stick on the liquor as you go, but keep turning and they will come off and end up on the main drum. See how I'm getting a nice even layer across the width of the main drum? That's what we're looking for with this particular bat. You need a nice solid layer of colour. You can really see it across the groove here, how much fibre you've got on there. As you go, you can just kind of fill in any gaps and make it even. I missed a bit on the side there, so I'm just going to fill it up a bit more on the edges. Now I'm happy with how much of the blue-green I've got, so I'm going to put on my splash of bright colour. I love this pink and orange together. So you're going to see it come up on this groove. Your next layer is going to cover that blue-green, so you need to have distinctive layers. The thicker your layers, the wider your gradient colours are going to be. If you put on really thin layers, you're going to get more blending and less defined stripes of colour as well. So you get a lot of choices when you're putting on the colour. You can put thick stripes, thick layers and get thicker stripes, or thin layers and get more blending and more graduation between the colours. So if you're going for greys through to white, for example, you might want to put on quite thin layers so it gets very graduated. If you've got strong colours that you don't want to mix up and turn into mud or brown, then you might want to make sure you've got quite solid layers so that the colours don't blend together too much. You get some solid colour in between. I'm going to put some white on now because I want to show you the definition, like I just said, of the colours and the way they work in the Batt. I quite like putting a bit of white on my bats anyway, but this is really for demonstration to show what happens to the colour, and because this is white it's really going to be obvious when I open up the Batt. So I'm putting on another layer, and I want to be able to cover the colour underneath and only see white, so I'm putting it through fairly thick. You might want to put it through in smaller pieces, but I don't want to spend all day on this either showing you. You'll get bored and run away, so I'm just going to put through one big lump. So that's pretty much enough white. I think that's a nice solid layer. So I've got some roving here that it's actually from the hackle, but it wasn't really enough to use for any projects, so I'm going to put this into my Batt as well. It's hackled roving, so it's actually quite light and airy and fluffy, and I want to mix it up a little bit, so I'm just going to throw it straight on, spread it out a little bit so it covers the tray, but this should give me a pretty decent amount of fibre onto the Batt as well. And I want to blend that purple in with the orange a little bit too, so hopefully it's going to pick up on the liquor drum and blend it through by the time it gets onto the main Batt. You can really see how the layers start to fill up across the width of the drum now, and this is covering most of the white. There's a few little patches, but that's going to be quite alright for our purposes. I'm going to put some more of the blue-green on just to add another stripe of colour. This is going to look different from the blue-green that we put on the first time, because this is actually going to blend a little bit in with the purples when we put the final Batt through the carder. This is just the first step. At the end of this we're actually going to take it off the carder and then run it back through again in a special way. That's the trick to this Batt. It's really simple. When you see it you go, oh, that's pretty cool, I can do that. It's quite a fun technique, and it's really quick if you have your fibres pre-prepared and pre-carded into the colours that you want. This is basically a two-step to putting the colours together in the sequence that you want them, so it's kind of colour management, Batt making. So I've still got some white showing through the layer, so I'm going to add more on this because I want this to be a nice thick solid section here with lots of blue-green showing through. I've still got that white there. If you can't get it, the fibre in exactly the spot you want to cover up those previous layers, you can also paint it onto the main drum as well directly. It's especially okay with this because we're using pre-prepared fibre, we're not using locks, so I can actually just make sure I cover up those little thinner areas quite specifically by just painting it on. It's time for some bling. I also put this straight onto the main drum as well, because if you put it through the liquor, it's really just because it's so fine and quite slippery, it's not really going to get efficiently onto the Batt the way I like it, so I put it straight onto the main drum, just kind of paint it on. Just watch out for your fingers a little bit. So I'm one of these people that has an issue with glitter. I can't handle, when kids play with glitter and they tend to spread it all over the house for some reason. I have a problem with that, and I have the same problem with Angelina. I can't stand losing any of it. So I'm putting another thin layer over the top of it, and that actually just helps to lock that Angelina into the bat as well. You might find otherwise it just kind of starts to fly off and fall out. So I tend to put a little layer over it most of the time just to make sure it stays in there, because I'm a little bit control freaky like that. Okay, this is where the fun begins. This is where we're going to take off the fibre from the drum. So take your duffer tool and just start lifting off the fibre. I always lift it away from the edge of the drum because this Pretty Magicraft drum carder has this amazing edge on the drum that's it's actually like the bobbins, and it keeps all the fibre on there. It stops it falling off, but of course I don't want to wreck it when I'm levering off the fibre, so I just take little chunks out and make sure I lift it away from the wood. It's also probably one of the easiest ways to get the fibre off without having to put too much muscle into it. And if you've used silk and long fibres, it's more difficult to lift off, so just take off little pieces. Keeping the pressure on the fibre as you lift it off like this too, like I'm rolling it. It just helps to take the fibre out of those tines so it doesn't leave it behind. If you were just to pull it off, it would probably leave bits behind, so it takes it off quite cleanly. So there's the bat. It's got layers in it, but it doesn't have stripes or graduations, so split it in half. This is where the magic begins. I'm going to split the entire bat in half lengthwise, and then what you're going to see is when you turn it over, I won't be able to show you this in a sec. So your half bat, you can see you've got the blue on both sides of it, and when you take it sideways you can see the stripes in each layer. So we're going to actually hold either side of it and just open it out. So imagine it's a little bit like an accordion. So you hold your hands on either side, top and bottom, and just lift it outwards to expose all the stripes, each different layer of colour that you put in. Turn it over and just make sure again on this side that you can see the individual stripes. See that layer of yellow that's just making a little highlight through there. There's my thick layer of white in the middle, the blue on either side, and then my little bits of sparkly in there as well. So the white is taking up quite a substantial part of this, and then the blue stripes on the edges that we put top and bottom. So just check that everything is lined up, because what we're going to do is put this back through the drum carder, and we're going to put the whole piece through in one go. So you need to have it pretty much how you want it finished. And what happens when you put it through the carder again is it's going to blend all those edges in together and make it much more graduated than you get if you just put on one stripe after the next. So one of the really cool things about this Fusion engine is the gap here that I can create with the adjustable feed tray. There's just a little knob underneath it, which means I can slide it in and out. So if I want to control the amount of fibre that's going into it, I can slide it in for less fibre, or I can bring it out for letting more fibre go through. And this time we're basically stuffing half a bat through there in one go, so I need the gap as wide as I can make it. I'm not going to adjust the liquor. I want this to be a nice smooth bat, so I'm going to keep it nice and close. So take the whole bat, put the width of it across the feed tray. Remember, this is half the bat. So you would spread it out so it takes the whole width of the feed tray, and then just really slowly start feeding that through the carder. I'm probably going a little bit fast. You might find it gets sucked in a bit quicker than you'd like underneath. Just keep an eye on the colours and make sure that they stay lined up. So just tease it out a little bit as you go. If it starts to get too thick for the cardar, just draft it out a little bit, let it go backwards away from the liquor in, make yourself some space, even it up, and you can see it coming up on the large drum there. It's already starting to look a lot more graduated than it was when we just opened it out. You can see the colours are still, you can see the stripes still showing, and the individual colours. So basically we're going to end up with two sister bats, twins, from this. So one bat turns into two, which means you have quite a few choices on how you're going to spin it as well, of course. So it's just about all the way through. You can see it's still going to make quite a substantial size bat. And this is why you want to have it quite even as well, because the colours will blend in a little bit. You can see the white is still quite a solid stripe because we put on a thicker layer of it. And the yellow is just a little streak through the bat because it was a thinner layer. When you see me reaching around the back of the drum carder there, it's because it's where the packer brush is, and some little ratchet system, so I can click it on and off when I want it there. So if you're not familiar with the Fusion engine, that's what I'm doing. It might look a bit odd, but that's just to put the brush on and off. And I like to pack these bats down because I want to make them nice and smooth. And here's the final bats. You can see those colours really start to blend into each other. It's so pretty. You can do rainbows like this, or you could do all natural colours. You can make any combination you like, and it just blends it beautifully. And it does give you these two really good sized bats to spin up. You can spin them from the ends, or you can spin them from the corner. And because I've used pre-prepared fibres for it, it's given me a nice smooth carded preparation as well, so I'm going to have a lot of fun spinning this quite fine. I'll find a picture of the yarn and I'll post it at the end of the video so you can see what it looks like when it's spun. Thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed learning how to do the stripy gradient bats with WoolWench. See you later.